You're funny.
Thanks, babes. Alana.
Yes?
I just did my interpretation of a song from the Stylistics.
Yes, you're, I believe it's called You're a Big Girl Now?
Yes.
Okay.
I changed the lyrics a little bit to make it more relevant to your life.
Right.
And the things that may be going on in your world.
Uh-huh.
Did you like my singing?
Well, it was entertaining, I'll just say that.
Oh.
You make me laugh.
Well, that's something. It's hard for me to hit those high notes like that one guy does.
Yes. 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 Can I tell the story, Bubs, if you don't mind?
Oh, I think I know what's funny. Yes, go ahead.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can tell it.
So, I remember we were at your sister's place.
Yes.
And we were listening to one of the songs
From the Stylistics.
From the Stylistics. And I said, you know, this song reminds me of my dad because he loves this song. And then you replied by saying something to the effect of, yeah, this lady, what did you say?
I said, this lady can really sing, or something to that effect.
And I was laughing, and I'm like, no, this is a guy. I just could not stop laughing, but I can understand why you would think that he was a woman.
Let me give a little bit of clarification.
Yes.
Before you, I had heard of the Stylistics, but I hadn't really listened to their music. And it sounded to me like it was a group with a couple guys and a lady who seemed really high.
Yes.
But apparently,
no,
I got that a little bit twisted.
No, it's, I don't know how many people were in the group, but they're all guys, and Russell Tompkins Jr., who's the guy that sings falsetto, is, I believe, still around.
And I don't know if he's still hitting those high notes. I know a man's voice generally goes down an octave when they get older, but...
And so do women's, too.
Yeah.
Some women do that.
But back in the day, he used to, like, really... He was a good sounding lady.
The guy!
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I think some women who generally sing falsetto, their voices tend to go down at least close to an octave, I would say.
That's what I've heard.
Yes. There's a woman, there's this lady, she's been a singer for a long time. Her name is Sandy Patty. And, she's in the CCM world. And
Christian contemporary music?
Right.
Okay.
She was around, like, since the 70s and 80s. And I think some of the 90s too. Well, I heard her live, I forgot when she performed, but you could tell that significantly her voice went a little bit lower. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Cause she could hit those high notes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she really could. She could really hit them. And now it's like, oh wow.
Here's a question.
Yes.
I don't listen to a lot of Christian music radio.
Mm-hmm.
When I lived in Hawaii, I did a little bit, but
yes.
we already know that story.
Yes.
With most Christian music stations, is it kind of like regular music to where their playlist is small and they maybe not air commercials, but they interrupt their programming a lot with announcements? How does that whole thing work?
Well, I don't listen to a lot of like Christian music stations much because some of the stuff is not as good as it used to be. But I think it runs with the same format. Like maybe you'll hear a couple commercials or one commercial or something, and then it'll go back to the station. And it's one of those things where, yes, you're right. They probably play the same playlist, and then it continues again. And then they, the viewers, maybe they hope the viewers won't notice it. Oh yeah, you played that like 5 times.
Yeah, so they have like their 40 songs that they mix up, and then maybe a couple times a day they'll play an oldie but a goodie. But
the one that I like, that I told you about, is the one from New Zealand, because you get a whole bunch of stuff that either you didn't hear, like the stuff that was popular in New Zealand or other countries, or stuff from a lot of it is stuff from the U.S. that's been way back in the archives of CCM. So I like that because there's a lot more variety and a lot more selection, and it's listener supported.
When you were growing up, I'm assuming you listened to Christian music radio.
A little bit.
Did they have commercials on it? The stations you listened to?
Yes, they did, just like any other radio station did.
Interesting.
So, but I mean, I didn't care. It was, that was what was going on. My grandparents used to listen to stuff like that on the AM dial. I mean, there was definitely one on FM, but they would listen to it on the AM dial too. The AM one was a little bit more, now it sounds a little bit better, but it's very staticky. Around the 80s, it was very
I used to hate the sound
I hated
of
it.
AM.
I hated it. I hated it. Yes.
Now you could listen to it because of Miss A. I'm assuming that station is still around because, I don't know, in my mind, I think that Christian radio stations never switch formats and go to being a rap station or a rock station, but I could be wrong.
No, some Christian stations are no longer around anymore, but the one that I really like, if I really want to listen to it, is a one from New Zealand that I like. It's Star.
Oh.
Star AM 882. For those of you who want to know.
Goodness.
It's a good station. Listener supported. And it's really funny because I'll listen to it and I forget that they're running on New Zealand time. So
I've had that happen when I'm listening to the BBC.
Yeah, because it's like Friday or Sunday over there today, and it's a Saturday morning here, so they're a day ahead of us. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
When I was taking communications classes at Benson High School,
yes,
there are a couple people there who are connected to the Christian radio world, but I never had any interest, so I didn't ask any questions.
They were working at stations?
Some of them were working at stations, and a couple people there knew people from that world.
Okay.
Yes. It's interesting to me that we don't have a Hindu radio station. You know what I mean? Or
an Islam radio station?
Yeah, like I don't know, an Islamic radio station, exactly.
Yeah, well, we don't have, I don't even think we even have a Mormon or Jehovah's Witness radio station either.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Or a Scientology radio station.
Can you imagine?
That would be the freakiest thing to tune into.
That would, especially like late at night when you can't sleep, right? What should I turn on first?
Scientology radio.
You know what, Bubs?
What's that?
Maybe we should do some research and see if they actually have that. I know that, now here's something I do know. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir, don't tell me what station they broadcast on, but it is broadcasted every Sunday. Nationally.
They might even have, I'm sure they have an internet component.
And then they have this thing in the middle of their concert called the Spoken Word, which is just some Mormon stories or whatever, which I've heard before. And I thought it was kind of strange. But so they probably do, but I don't believe there is a strictly Mormon radio station or a strictly Baha'i radio station or...
Yeah, I'd love to hear something like that. I told you, babes, I can't remember if I said it here. You know that my grandparents were into the Baha'i faith.
Yes, they were.
But, and I hope I'm not repeating myself, but my aunt, who was my grandmother's younger sister, said that my grandparents, there's a photo of them on the Wikipedia page for the Baha'i faith in Hawaii.
So they must have been part of the missionaries, the missionaries who started, who were preaching about the Baha'i faith there?
Yes, they were missionaries for a time. And they traveled around the world. They went to the Gilbert Islands for a couple years.
You told me about that, I remember. That's a crazy story.
That is a crazy story.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I would like to know more about the Baha'i faith just because my grandparents were into it, but who knows? Maybe I'd just read about it and be like, I don't get it. I know about the guy, the Bob. I know.
Baha'u'llah, I think is called.
Okay.
He's called.
My mom called him the Bob.
It's very confusing. I've done a little bit of research on it, and it's what this faith tries to do is to unite all religions, but the problem is that there are religions like Christianity and Islam that are very monotheistic.
Oh.
And you absolutely cannot, especially Christianity, you cannot unite faiths. It doesn't work.
Yeah, stay divided, Jaylo. Only unite under the flag.
Bubs!
All right, sorry, that was my southern impression of a typical redneck Christian.
Bubs. Really?
Who watches too much Dukes of Hazzard and CMT.
Seriously, Bubs, you gotta stop that.
I love you, babes, and on. And what's
Kind
his
of
on?
annoying.
I love you, babes.
Kind of annoying.
Oh, I didn't know that, babes.
The stereotypical portion.
Oh, but you met people like that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, not all Southerners are like that either.
I have met some really cool Southerners. My mom had a friend who is from the South.
Yes, I remember you telling me about her.
I don't think I said it here. For the longest time, I just assumed that she was some redneck, right? I wasn't mean to her or anything, but this is just like my personal thoughts. And then one time, I'm like 17, I go over to her apartment. I can't speak today, and which is normal for me.
Yes.
With my mom.
Yes.
And, I just smoked some weed and we were hanging out and she was playing me some really cool music and saying, oh, I don't know if you can see this, but I have a replica of a Picasso. I really like his early period. She was telling me about all these bands she's into. And I was like, this lady is really cool. And I remember when we left, I told my mom, I'm like, I always just thought that she was a redneck. And she said, yeah, I could see why you would think that. But she's actually a really deep person. And we, she was a family friend for a while.
Yeah, I think it's it's such, I've, no, not all Southerners are like that, Bubs. I think it's a stereotype.
Having said that, we've both met people who fit that stereotype.
No, I haven't.
You've never met anybody who's like raw America from the South.
Well, I'm sure I have, but when I'm thinking about rednecks, I'm thinking about like ghetto rednecks. Like really. Okay, so I'm not talking, and this is separate from faith and patriotism.
Go ahead.
I mean, like, those you've heard. We've talked about those redneck jokes that Jeff Foxworthy had, and some of them are pretty funny.
Okay.
If your underwear doubles into your bathing suit, if you're about ready to flush a toilet and your mom says, y'all look in there before I flush. When somebody knocks on your door and asks where the yard sale is, when you go to family reunions to meet women. That was really funny.
Yes. Were you going to tell me about Foxworthy or the people you've met?
No, I have not met anyone that I would consider like a true redneck that I can think of. No.
I've met people who were raised in Portland who are like authentic rednecks. Really?
Like what exactly do you mean authentically redneck? Portland style.
They talk about their love for the flag.
Bubs, would you stop it?
They do.
Okay.
And how much they love their good book.
Bubs.
Babes.
Stop it.
I'm telling you what I've heard. It seems to me that there are a lot of those type of people.
But I wouldn't even consider them rednecks. They're just patriots.
I don't know. They also listen to country music and a lot of it.
Okay.
They live past 82nd here in Portland.
Okay.
I noticed that 82nd is this weird division line between intelligent, well-read people and just like complete rednecks.
Yeah, but is it possible that you're considering them hicks because you don't know much about them? And you're just like, oh, well, I don't need to associate with them because they're beneath me?
I guess anything's possible, babes, but is it likely? I don't know.
I'm just saying, Bubs. I mean...
and obviously not everybody past 82nd. I'm making general.
I mean, you have made some pretty stereotypical comments.
Have I?
In the first 5 minutes that we have been talking about this conversation.
Oh, there are a lot of cool people past 82nd, and I'm sure there are good rednecks and all that stuff. And you love your rednecks.
Bubs.
What?
Stop it!
You don't have to tickle me, Babes. Do you think that that's a defense mechanism?
Only for you.
Oh.
Only with you it is. You know, you like I've mentioned to a certain friend of yours, and maybe I didn't. I would repeat this again. There's some things that since I met you, that you have allowed to come out of me that no one has been able to get out of me. Well, or maybe I shouldn't say no one. Maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't say no one. But I'm more so with you because you allow me to do that. And normally, yes, there are people I can do that with, but I think I feel even more comfortable with you because you actually are okay with it.
In 2010,
yeah,
I read a book about Russ Meyer, who you probably don't know about, but he was this famous B-movie director in the 60s and 70s.
Uh-huh.
He was known for making these films where there were like these very attractive loose women, right?
Uh-huh.
They interview an actress from one of his films, and she says that, when I moved out to Hollywood, I was a simple girl, and I thought I'd live a stereotypical life, maybe do a little bit of acting, and then get married, have kids, and have a family, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he meets Russ Meyer. Russ Meyer tells her immediately, you're a sexual object and you need to be sexualized. Mm-hmm. At first she thinks that he's joking. And then eventually she grows to hate him because she realizes that what he said was true, that she is meant to be sexualized. And it's taken her many decades to come to terms with the fact that he was right. And in some respects, she hates him because he unleashed this part of her that she never knew she had. And in other respects, she loves him for doing that. And that's what I kind of feel I do with you.
But that's different, though. Oh. That's totally different.
We need to get a video camera and start shooting some movies.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Then if you're going to say that, then I'll give you a one-way ticket out my door.
Oh, what else? I love you. Babes.
What's that?
I feel that we had a pretty good morning.
Yes.
I did have some issues sleeping last night.
Oh.
But.
Welcome to the club. That happened before with me.
Oh.
Yeah.
We had a nice talk before getting out of bed. And it was just fun. Mm-hmm. What's going on in your mind right now? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Well, okay. I guess I don't know that my story with you would really, or that story about that one girl resonates with me necessarily. I think when I mean that things are coming out, I don't mean that in that way. Oh. But I can understand why she would, in some ways, loathe this person.
Yeah, and keep in mind we're getting PC Jaylo because it's podcast time.
What? Okay.
We're getting PC Jaylo.
PC Jaylo? Why?
Because, there's certain things you're not going to say here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Well, no, I'm just saying, what do you call it? But what I mean with you is that maybe I should clarify it.
Go ahead. I was partially telling that story as a joke and because I wanted to share it.
Okay.
Yes,
but I think when I say that I'm a little bit, spunkier, feistier with you is because I'm free to express myself the way that I want to express myself, the way that I feel like I can express myself, because there are people that I could do that with. But I think with you, because there are things that we both believe in that are very much on opposite sides, and now we're in an involved relationship. It's easier for me to do that, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Good.
But normally I don't want to be confrontational, and I don't want to speak out about anything unless I have to.
Oh.
But I think as I've gotten older, I realize that there are things that have to be said and things that don't need to be said.
Interesting, babes. Interesting.
Yeah, you just gotta be prudent.
Oh. Well, that's good, babes.
Yeah. Yes, things that need to be said, but also being wise about it. Yeah.
Jaylo.
Yes.
We had a fun time yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Talk about it.
What do you want me to talk about?
Well, the first thing that comes to your mind.
So I decided because, you keep talking about the Clubhouse community and the Clubhouse world. And I thought, maybe we should listen to some rooms and see what we can find. There was some really interesting stuff yesterday.
Friday's usually a pretty good day for Clubhouse.
Yes. We went into, I think the first one we went into was the best food I ever had room.
I think you might be right.
And that was fun.
You even spoke in it.
I did. I was surprised that you didn't say anything.
All I did was come on and say, hey, I don't have much to say, but my girlfriend really wants to contribute to this conversation. And You talked about a place in St. Louis called The Loop. So
there's a place with a bunch of restaurants called the Del Mar Loop. The Del Mar Loop. And as that one person in the room was saying, it is, where a lot of college students like to go to eat and a lot of other people. And there was a cookie place that my friend and I went to called Insomnia Cookie, which delivers cookies until 3 a.m., which makes a lot of sense because insomnia, get it? Insomnia. And I was saying that I decided to get a cookie sandwich, which consisted of 2 different cookies and 2 different ice cream in the middle of those 2 cookies. And I'm sitting there eating it. And I'm like, and the person who was telling me what was on the menu was very patient, said, okay, I can read you the menu again if you want, because I couldn't decide. So I finally got the sandwich made. I'm eating it. My friend's right there. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want some of this? And she's like, yeah, that's okay. And I'm like, I'm eating this and it's so good. And I feel really bad because I'm eating it right in front of her. But apparently, there is an insomnia cookie in another state. And I think it might have been, was it California?
I think so.
And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that there was another branch in a different state, which is really cool. And then I also mentioned another restaurant that I can't remember at the moment what it was called, but they served really good chicken and waffles. And that was the first time I ever tried chicken and waffles in my life, and it was really good.
Mm. Mm-hmm. How does that work? Is it fried chicken and waffles? Is it baked?
No, the one that I had was the chicken was cooked in a sauce. And you can put like a syrup on your waffles. And if I remember correctly. But the chicken had this really good sauce. It was like, I don't know what kind of a chicken it was. It might have been baked.
That sounds good.
But it was really good. It was delicious.
You and I were hanging out in the room after you spoke, and a friend of mine came in. Starts off with, well, in 2005, I went blind.
That was by far the funniest.
That was great. Mm-hmm. And he talked about going to a restaurant that I've been to with him a couple of times called Rodizio's. And I've heard about it, and I was so jealous that you got to go because that would probably be my place to go because I'm a meat eater, and it's definitely an experience. So I want to say I've been there maybe 6 or 7 times. Even though if you hear us talk about it, it makes it sound like we went there every single week. Yeah, but you kind of want it to be a unique thing. Yes. And part of his story included telling about how he ate meat for 3.5 hours straight. And to which I commented and said, look, I like meat, but I can't eat 3 hours worth of meat. That's just too much meat. What you got to understand is my friend is a little bit of a bigger guy. Mm-hmm. And we used to make fun of him for a number of things, including his weight. Oh, boy. I know we were in a fat shame. That's not good. I know. But hey, you kind of,
You take the good and you take the bad with your friends, right?
I like to have fun in life.
Yeah.
I don't live by PC rules.
I think that, It's just, people do that. It's not always nice, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's fun. So anyways, I wasn't there the first time he went to Rodizio's because this was after the Blast conference. I was so worn down by the week that I think I might have been the only one from the group who decided to go home.
And I can understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I keep hearing about it through the weekend. So-and-so sit down at a table and ate meat for 3.5 hours straight. Now, around this time, we were just starting to do impressions of him around the set that I went to. So we worked that into the impression. I ate meat for 3.5 hours straight the other night.
I just thought of something, Bubs.
What's that?
You better hope he's not listening.
Oh, it is.
Well, it is good entertainment. He seems like he's a good sport about it.
Yes.
Okay.
What other rooms did we go into?
Oh, yes. We went into an audio, what was it? A voiceover for audiobooks.
Yes.
Room. That was interesting. And you asked a question that I thought was really cool.
What I asked was, why isn't there more crossover between audiobook narrators and people who do descriptive audio for films so blind people can enjoy them?
And then she was talking about loop groups, which I thought was kind of interesting because I didn't know what those were. And she said, like, on movies and television, they'll have, for example, like if there's a hospital setting, they'll have people speaking in a loop group in the background. And she was saying that there would be like a dialogue with all this stuff. Like it sounds like they're talking in like a nurse's wing, which I thought was kind of interesting. What do you think about that?
I was fascinated.
It was
by
very
that
fascinating
because I just assumed that maybe they recorded sound of people talking in the background for movies and TV shows in hospitals and libraries,
restaurants,
and party settings. Like, obviously it's professionally done, but I assumed that maybe they had a range of like 100 different examples, and movie studios just licensed those examples, and perhaps they've been around since like the 80s or something. I didn't know that they redo it each time they do a movie.
Well, and then she said, which I thought was kind of interesting, that it's hard for a person to get into a loop group, which I thought was kind of interesting too.
I could see that because if they do it as frequently as she said, then that's steady work.
That is. That's a good living.
Mm-hmm.
It's good living.
Yes, you will.
I wonder how much money like the extras make if they're not speaking, they're just in the crowd.
They don't make a lot of money. I think it's something like a couple hundred a day, maybe.
Wow.
But it's something.
It's still something, yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we went into another voiceover group, but this one concentrating on actors who do work in commercials and
animation. And I thought it was really interesting too. I was trying to think of what to ask, and I couldn't. I often thought about what it would be like to do a voiceover, and look into it because I love music. But if I had another thing that I was doing that's also artsy, that would be really cool too. I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. Art has a limited. It seems like a lot of facets to it. Unlimited facets to it that you can use. Or unlimited avenues you can go. Whether it's music, whether it's acting, or just voice acting, or painting, or what have you. But I always thought about what that would be like, because I've been told by people that I have a nice voice for possibly radio or something else.
Yes.
Whether or not they were being nice, I don't know, but so yeah, I mean, I thought about that. Have you?
I have, but I'm also not a fast enough reader.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part to doing something like this.
Yes.
So I wouldn't necessarily work for me, but you're a fast enough reader. I say go for it.
Because it seems like a really flexible thing to do. Like one of the people in the room said, you can be anywhere in the world and do voiceover.
Yeah, but it's also super competitive from what I've heard.
Yes. And she was even saying like, she met a lot of people with weird voices, and that even if you have an older voice, it doesn't matter if you're doing animation because animation doesn't age. I thought it was kind of interesting.
They gave the example of this 93-year-old who took one of their courses and then booked a job like a week later.
In a series?
Yes.
I thought, wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty, and so she said, so yeah, it's possible, and I thought, that is really encouraging, actually. It's very encouraging. But I think if we go in there next week, I'd like to ask the question of, if you are very, very much a newcomer to learning about the voiceover world, what is one of the first things to do if you want to look into it? Mm-hmm. Do you have to take acting classes? Do you have to hire an agent? How many acting classes do you need to take, and how long? And, and then they were talking about like taking care of your voice too, with the best things to do too. The best things is sleep and hydration. And, and then this guy was saying, cause I think he does voiceover stuff too. And he was saying that if you're a smoker for years and you kind of talk like you've been smoking for years, it's kind of hard to, you can't really fix it.
No.
Cause you kind of, did it to your voice. But, and then that somebody mentioned that sometimes dairy doesn't affect people's vocal cords depending on the person. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting too.
That was a good room. And then we went into this Italian cooking room.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Talk about it.
They were featuring a recipe for gnocchi, which is a pasta, Italian pasta. It's a pasta made with potatoes. And I remember having it a long time ago, and it's really good. But I thought to myself, a pound of potatoes, that's a lot of potatoes. And then they were talking about the wine that you use in the pasta that you can use. And this woman said that she got this Barolo wine that was 9 years old, and that she was going to make the pasta for her husband's birthday. And they were saying that if you need any help with the recipe, you can just email us and we can help you. And I thought that was really cool.
At one point, my friend who mentioned Rodigios goes into the Italian cooking room, and we're just casually listening. I think to myself, that sounds like him, and sure enough, it was.
It was him.
Yeah.
And they was talking about like making a sauce with clams or something and pistachio sauce. Mm-hmm. It's like a pistachio pesto thing. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And he was telling your friend, if you're going to make it, don't take the clams out of the shell. Just cook it in the shell. That was kind of interesting.
One of the cool things I like about Clubhouse is you can run into people you know in real life.
Yes.
It's not uncommon.
Right.
And then you can kind of like text back and forth about what happened in the room. At least that's what me and my friends do. Yeah. What do you think about it now that we've played with it somewhat more?
It's actually right. I mean, I totally understand why you want to be on there for
sometimes too long.
Sometimes a little too long. Yeah. But it also, I mean, it amazes me the variety of rooms that you can find. Although there are some rooms that I'm not even sure why you would go in there, but you have.
Oh, we're talking about the polyamory rooms.
Yes.
We were invited into one of those last night by somebody I know.
Who was invited?
You and me. Well, I was invited.
Okay.
But obviously I'm not going to go in there when I'm with my Jaylo.
Yeah, I don't know. The only reason why I would want to go in there is learning about the weird jargon.
I think
it's odd
that all groups have weird jargon, and the polyamory group, let me put it to you this way. Being polyamorous isn't really my thing. But I feel like if somebody's into that world, that's cool. And I like that I have a lot of friends who are into it. But I feel with every single subgroup of our society, whether it's polyamory, whether it's being an artist who's into poetry like I am, or what have you.
Right. In the flute world too, yes. There's definitely a lot of jargon and lingo and stuff.
It's that, but it's also, let's take polyamory out a little bit. Let's concentrate on arts, right?
Yes.
Like, you do art to be away from the system and to forge your own grounds. But the more you hang out with artists who work in your field, they'll tell you all these different rules that they have and language around the arts that isn't necessarily something that you jive with. So it's this weird contradictory of doing something to sort of set yourself apart from society. And it's not just to be different, it's because that's the way you feel. And maybe you feel like the broader social structure won't accept it.
Are you talking about like when you're hearing stuff from, like, for example, voice coaches?
You could use that as an example.
Okay.
But so you go and try to find your own crowd and make your own rules, and then you find out that these rules are already established things. And it's just like you're just part of the bigger society, but you see eye to eye on something. I don't know if that made any sense.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a pushing and pulling, would you say? Right? You're being pulled in one direction by, for example, a flute teacher. And they'll give you all these rudimentary stuff, which you should know. You know, breathing exercises, breathing techniques, scales, arpeggios, right? You need to know that if you want to know your instrument. And then there's some other things like how much classical music you listen to, right? I have to admit, I don't listen to nearly as much classical music as maybe my former teacher would have wanted me to listen to. Because it's not, to me, it's not plausible. To me, it's not realistic.
Yeah. Let me see if I can break it down.
But I'm not sure what you mean by... Yeah.
Okay, I want to try to break it down in another way.
Okay.
Whatever subgroup you have in our society, right?
Right.
It feels like people enter those subgroups to break away from the hierarchy that we've developed in the society. And sometimes you want to break away from that because you just want to be cool and different. And other times you want to leave that system because you actually are cool and different. And society just doesn't fit you and you don't like the hierarchy.
I think some artists are like that, yeah.
Yeah, so you enter these subgroups, and what you slowly begin to realize, or at least this is what happens with me, is that in every subgroup, there is a hierarchy, right? And so you never really break away from the hierarchy unless you just go off by your own and enter a cave somewhere. And for me, it's about discovering, well, what hierarchy am I okay with? Does that make any sense?
Or what rules are you okay with?
What rules am I okay with?
Yeah.
And how do I find a way to still be myself and realize that no matter what group I'm a part of, there's going to be a hierarchy.
So,
because
I
that's
don't
just
know.
Part of humanity.
I mean, I can only talk about musicians, right? And musicianship. There are rules you have to follow when you're, for example, if you're writing classical music. There are basic rudimentary things that you need to know, and also with jazz you have to know that too. But maybe when, I don't know, like when it comes to painting, I wonder if that's different. Because if you're painting stuff by yourself and you're not around people, and you can make up your own stuff, is that more different? Is that more?
Okay, so I'm not an expert in the painting world, but here's my theory as somebody who has done poetry and a little bit of music and podcasting and whatnot.
Right.
I can paint anything I want by myself, and there's no rules to it. I can just be as creative as I feel. But if I want to get my painting shown in an art gallery or sold to some private collector,
right,
I got to play into the system in some way and kind of have an idea of what the audience wants to see.
What sells and what doesn't sell. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I think I understand, because I've watched some talent competitions, and I know you're not too into that, but I watched some talent competitions, and sometimes they're like, you know, you sang that song fine, but that it doesn't match your voice. Or you don't have the look we're looking for when it comes to modeling, right? Because modeling is another art. you don't have the look we're looking for, so you're not going to be in our company. Or you're kind of awkward, but we like you. It could go either way.
Yeah.
There was a girl that won for America's Next Top Model. Occasionally I'd watch a show with my sisters. And she was like considered really awkward. But she won for that season. Because that's what they were looking for, I guess.
In my mind, talent is talent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something is either good or it's not.
Yeah.
But that's also just like my opinion of it. Do you
think, Bubs, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Do
you think that there's a difference between talent and ability?
That's a really complex answer that I would have to give here. The short answer is yes, and the longer answer would take a long time to really articulate.
Okay.
But yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure how to explain it, but I think you're right about that.
I think you need both, and talent to me is a natural thing. And ability is what you build upon that talent. So talent is maybe the foundation to the house, and ability is what's above that. If that makes any sense.
Right.
So you can't have the living room or the kitchen of ability unless you have the foundation of talent.
Right.
Ability represents the hard work you build in, and talent represents the natural gifts you may have.
So, for example, you have a talent you have a gift for poetry.
Yes.
And you wouldn't have gotten that gift for poetry if you didn't know how to write.
I would say kind of the opposite. I would say I have a gift for poetry, but it would have remained dormant unless I put in the work to develop the ability to express it.
Yes.
I don't know if any of this makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Well, and then with any kind of person that wants to get into music, a lot of things go into. You have to develop your ear, develop your eyes to sight see if you can sight and sing. Mm-hmm. And you also have to develop rhythm if you're good with rhythm. And there's so much that goes into it. So I understand what you mean.
I think only having one will take you so far. So let's take music, for example.
Yes.
Maybe you don't have a natural talent, but maybe you have the ability. Meaning that you like music, you play it a lot, mm-hmm. and you may get to the point to where you're a fully functional guitar player.
Yes.
And can play in bands around town. But you're probably never going to be considered by the masses to be one of the innovators on guitar, right? Because you have the ability, but you don't have the talent. Now, somebody who may have the talent to go that far, but doesn't put in the hours... will just go unknown. Like, they might be known in a small circle as being better than Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
But that small circle will never hit the mainstream because they don't put in the work to get known.
What do you think about the ones that are self-taught?
Well, let me elaborate on what I just said, putting in the work to get known.
Yes.
Right, because I realize that that's kind of a loaded statement. Because now you could say, well, you could just upload a video to YouTube.
Yeah, I know, but that's not... Yeah.
Okay, here's what I'm really saying. What I'm really saying is putting in the work to get known by putting in your 10,000 hours of not just playing the guitar, but going out to gigs, developing your sounds, networking, that type of thing.
Right, going to festivals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your question was, as a follow-up?
I don't know where I was getting at. I'm sorry. I had a question and then I completely forgot what I was trying to get at. But I think I understand what you mean. So here is something that I was watching a certain talent competition, and this girl went to audition. Okay, she has and she was fairly young. I can't remember how old she was. She might have been a teen. I don't remember. But the only people that she performed in front of was her parents. Mm-hmm. Okay? And she was expecting the judges to accept that she could sing. And when she started singing, it was awful, 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 right?
Yeah.
And I heard this girl and I'm like, Oh my goodness, didn't anyone take you aside and say, hey, you got to perform in front of other people?
To me, she may have natural talent.
No, she didn't.
No, but here's the thing you're not taking into consideration, babe, right?
Yes.
We don't know the acoustics of that room. We also don't know how scared she was. That can play a factor into it, right? So she may have had talent and not the ability. And the way you develop that ability is not just doing it in front of your parents and then going on TV. It's by performing in front of family members and then working the small clubs, finding out where your voice fits in what different room styles, right? And also getting over the fear of being on stage before you go on TV.
Oh, no, Bob. She was bad. It didn't matter. I mean, I was actually listening to this live, and okay. It was... I'm sorry. No, it wasn't live. It was years ago, but it was really... It was not... It had nothing to do with the room.
You don't think it could be with fear?
No. This girl really thought she was good, as other singers thought they were good, but they did not have, unfortunately, they had to be told, look, I'm sorry, you cannot go through. We can't accept this. You have to practice more in front of people, because she literally did not sing in front of anyone except for her parents, and her parents were just saying that she was good, but she wasn't. And it was bad. Oh. It was really bad. But anyway, those rooms are really interesting, and I hope that I can find out more about that one room next week.
That would be super interesting, babes, to have you speak again.
It would, and I genuinely want to know what to expect to maybe look into that.
A lot of hard work, Jaylo.
That's okay. I'm up for a challenge.
That's right, babes.
I'm always up for a challenge.
Yes.
I don't quit so easily.
Oh.
That's right.
After Clubhouse, first of all, I was getting tired when we were in the rooms and starting to fall asleep, and you were like, get up.
Well, I wasn't tired at the time, and then after a while, I'm like, you know what? I think I am a little tired.
We came into the bedroom and slept for around 2 hours. And
by the time I woke up, well, you woke me up, it was like 5:30.
Yes.
And so we decided to put together our sandwiches, and they turned out really good.
It's nice having the nachos with them.
We didn't have nachos, we had chips.
I thought we had nachos.
Nacho cheese Doritos.
That's what I said.
Oh, yeah, but...
What? What did I say that was wrong?
You said the nachos, and we didn't have nachos.
We had nachos, and then you just said we had nacho cheese Doritos.
Yes, that was the flavor of Doritos. But...
Yes, babes. It counts.
Oh.
You're like, we didn't have nachos, we had
nachos. When you said nachos, I thought you meant actual nachos.
Oh my goodness, babes.
Bubs. Oh goodness. Okay. We had Doritos with our sandwiches, and we have some more that we will be eating.
Let me clarify. Yes. We didn't have nachos.
Yes.
But we had nachos.
Whatever.
Yes. Just so we're clear on that.
What else? Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Okay. But it was a really good dinner. We were listening to the Eagles.
That was fun.
And then we had the last 2 pieces of my birthday cake with some really yummy Neapolitan ice cream.
I gotta correct you.
Yes.
It wasn't birthday cake. It was cake we had for your birthday. Okay, moving on, babes.
Really? Seriously?
All right, give me a kiss. Come on, give me a kiss.
My boyfriend, the technical portion.
All right, give me a kiss, babe. You
silly.
Yes.
But no, it was really, really an enjoyable dinner and dessert.
Then, babes.
Yes.
We started watching Monty Python movies.
Oh yes.
I gotta clarify something.
Yes.
In my opinion, which is not the popular one,
mm-hmm.
I think The Life of Brian is their best movie. And I think that Holy Grail is kind of forgettable.
And I have to disagree with you on that.
And most people would.
Yeah.
Most people think of Holy Grail as this classic. and think that Life of Brian is okay if they've even seen it.
I will have to say that Life of Brian is much funnier. I did like the Holy Grail. There was some funny things to it, but I was in it, but I was laughing more in the first for the first movie.
You want me to give a brief recap of Life of Brian?
Yes.
Starts off, the three wise men go to this, what do they call it, a house?
Well, in the Bible it was a manger, but I guess they go to a barn, right?
Barn.
A barn, yes.
And this lady man had just given birth to the baby. They come with all these gifts and they're like, we have gifts. And she's like, well, why didn't you say so?
It was gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Then they realize, oh, we came to the wrong barn. They go back and get their stuff. There's a little bit of animation and a song. Then we see Jesus preaching, and there's this huge crowd.
And this isn't Brian. This is Jesus.
This is Jesus.
Okay.
Everybody's listening to him, but they're so big that there's like the back of the crowd, and people are starting to argue.
Yes.
Like, I can't see him. I can't hear what he's saying.
And then this one guy is calling this other guy Big Nose.
Yes. They get into a fight. There's a bunch of stuff. Brian, who is now a little bit older, maybe in his 30s, around Jesus' age, obviously.
Yes.
Finds out that he's half Roman and half Jewish.
Yeah, because he's not really a Cohen.
Yes. He ends up joining this group of people that want to rid the area of the Romans.
They were called the People's Front of Judea.
Yes. Goes on a couple of ventures, gets captured, put into a prison.
Yes.
But there is an alien attack out in space. The spacecraft crashes and Brian is able to escape.
Yes.
He's being chased by the Romans. A lot of stuff happens. Eventually, he ends up falling out of this window and hitting this one guy who is a preacher because of his fall, and the guy falls over, and people start crowding around Brian. He starts saying a few nice words. People start to think this guy might be the Messiah.
Yeah.
They start chasing him.
They follow him all the way to they go all the way to his house.
Well, before that.
Yeah.
He goes into the desert, and I believe he steps on this guy's foot, who has been silent for 18 years. The guy starts yelling. Everybody thinks it's a miracle.
Yeah.
The guy says it's not, so they kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Brian ends up sleeping with this lady named Judith.
Yeah.
And the next morning, there's tons of people outside of the house.
Yes.
Yes. There's some more chaos. Brian tries to explain that he's not the Messiah. People don't believe him. And a lot of stuff happens. Eventually, Brian, near the end of the movie, is up on a cross, getting ready to be crucified. He has been pardoned, but they released the wrong guy. His group of people who are fellow rebels come to him and they're about to take him down. But instead of doing that, like Brian thinks they're about to do, they say, you're going to be a hero to us. And they applaud him and leave.
Yep.
His girlfriend Judith comes, but it's just like, I think it's so great what you're doing. She leaves. His mom says that she's not going to miss him. And then we hear always look on the bright side of life. And the movie ends.
Who's singing that, by the way?
I think that's Eric Idle.
That's hilarious. It was such a weird movie. It's very un-PC.
I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yes.
I think it's great.
It's really funny.
Yes. What thoughts do you have about it besides just saying it's not a woke film?
I think that there would be a lot of backlash today if it was if anybody saw it. As far as like if it was out in theaters, would you say?
I would say that's a safe bet.
Yes.
Yes.
But it is. I thought the people of the men of Monty Python did a really good job with this movie. It was super funny. I don't know who played the lady man, Brian's mom. He's very funny.
Yes.
Do you recognize him?
That's one of the members of Monty Python, babes.
I don't know. Do you know? But do you know what his name is?
I'm not going to say here.
Okay. Very funny though.
Yes.
Yes. And John Cleese, of course, was hilarious.
John Cleese had a couple of different parts in this movie, and he's really good in it.
Yes, he's very good.
Yes.
I didn't realize so I know that they put out some songs, but I remember hearing in the next movie, which we will get to, is I didn't realize that they could all sing. Some of them sang pretty well together.
All, and then he said
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm stumbling over my words too, Bubs. But I couldn't believe that they all sang pretty well together.
They're good.
They are good. Very funny.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe let's do a little bit of character now. So I first saw this film, actually, before that.
Yeah.
I believe I was 9.
Yes.
We were over at a friend of my mom's.
Yes.
This guy who was trying to get with her.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yes.
I saw the movie, so I'm like, I gotta get that. And I believe I got my copy of it from Suncoast Video. Okay. The one in Lloyd Center.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps you understand me a little bit better.
Okay. I don't remember seeing that at all until I watched it with you.
This is your first viewing of the movie.
Yes, it is.
Let's do some analysis.
Okay.
What does the Roman king in this movie teach us about respect?
Who was the Roman king again?
The guy who had the weird voice. And they were kind of making fun of him when he was trying to pardon people.
Oh! I don't know. He seemed kind of incompetent, but that's... He's the one that talked with the W's instead of Osh.
Yes.
Brian. I thought that was really funny. He seemed like a joke. I don't know.
Oh my God.
He seemed kind of incompetent. Like, why is he a king?
Yes.
He can't even pronounce Brian correctly.
Let me rephrase the question.
Yes.
What do the Romans teach us about not getting respected? About lack of respect?
They weren't respectable.
Really?
Well, I don't know. I mean, well, I know that they wanted to get rid of the Romans with that group, right?
Yes.
In your opinion, did they explain why they wanted to get rid of them, or they just hated them?
They hated the Romans, and if you remember, there's this great scene when John Cleese is playing the leader of the group that wants liberation, and he's like, "What have the Romans ever done for us?" And they're like, "Well, education. Yeah. Our streets are a lot safer. Sanitation." And they name like 5 other things. And he's like, "Okay, besides for education, sanitation, being safe, having an economy, irrigation, and a few other things. What have they ever done for us?"
Yeah. Well.
So what can we learn from
So
them?
basically, they were naming a lot of things that
the Romans did.
That the Romans did that actually were respectable. Okay, so I was wrong about that.
What can we learn from the Romans about not getting your proper due?
I think that they have been overlooked in this movie. If that makes any sense. Like, they've done some respectable things, but the group's hatred of them, they're not going to get respect from them because they just hate them for whatever reason, but they can't tell you why.
And it's almost like it's a memory loss thing.
Yeah.
They know that they're supposed to hate them, but they can't remember the reasoning behind it.
They just hate them because they were, it seemed like they were led to believe that they should hate them. Mm-hmm. And Brian hates him even though he's half Roman.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny, actually. It's the funny way that they try to explain it away in the movie is hilarious. Yeah.
What do Brian's followers teach us about groupthink?
Well, it definitely is a good example of groupthink. But I think he was trying to get them, hey, you don't have to follow me or anybody else. You have to think for yourself and decide what you should do. But then they were just like, no, you are the Messiah, right? Even his mother is saying, no, Brian is not the Messiah. And their house is a
very naughty boy.
It's like, it's a mess, but there's a mess in here, but no Messiah. Yes. That made me laugh so hard. There's a mess, but no Messiah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does this film...
Yes.
How do I want to phrase this?
Yes.
Are there any lessons that a Christian could learn from this movie?
That's a good question. I think what a Christian can learn as far as Christianity is don't follow anybody unless you know what the backstory is. Don't follow anyone who people would claim to be the Messiah unless you know for a fact what is really true and what isn't true.
That's a lesson, but I'm thinking about something else.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know if it's so much I want you to say something as much as maybe I'd like your opinion about something.
All right.
Okay. In the beginning of the movie,
yes,
they're watching Jesus talk.
Yes.
And presumably he's preaching about peace and love or how you're going to have vengeance or something like that. Near the back of the crowd,
yeah,
they're not even enjoying the fact that they believe they're watching the Son of God talk. They're getting into an argument.
Yeah.
What can we learn from human nature about that?
Well, as we are human, right? Humans are, we are wired to think about other things while spiritual things are happening. So, like, I've given you the examples where I've been in church services where a sermon is going on, a message is going on, but I'm thinking about what I want for lunch. Right? Mm-hmm. We are wired to do that. Our minds are wired to wander, but and there are things that have happened in churches where kids are crying or kids are doing whatever they're really annoying their parents, or adults are talking and it's like, would you please be quiet? I'm trying to focus on something. I'm trying to focus on what's going on in the service and you're interrupting.
Yes.
And as humans, that's a part of our nature. We, sometimes we don't want to listen to what could be good for us, that is good for us. And instead we want to think of what's good for us at the time. If that makes any sense.
It does. It's sort of like the flesh versus the spirit.
Absolutely. Yes. Very good. The Holy Spirit versus the flesh. And there's always going to be a pushing and pulling of the two. There's always going to be a battle between the two because we are humans. We are not immortal. And we are constantly going to be fighting that every single day of our lives.
At the end of the movie, Brian is basically waiting to be killed. And there's so many opportunities for people to help him. Yeah. They just don't follow through.
They don't.
What does this movie tell us about a life of loneliness?
Well, let me ask you a question before I go on with this. Do you think that Brian is so lonely that he wants to be killed?
No, Brian wants to live.
Brian wants to live, okay, but there's opportunities for people to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's annoyed with certain things. Yeah. But I don't think he wants to die.
I don't think so either. I'm not sure where your question is going with this.
Oftentimes in life, we think we can trust people, but when we need them the most, they don't show up. And I think Brian might represent that near the end of the movie.
You mean like people wouldn't show up for him?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I can only go by... Well, going back to human nature, right? Because we are human, we are always going to fail people. We are not going to show up. We are not going to be dependable, some of us. We're not going to be reliable when a person needs us. And it's disappointing, but that's a part of our nature. And some people have chosen to not be present for others.
Now, we're told Jesus forgives.
Yes.
Do you think Brian does the same?
That's hard to say. Maybe he just, decides that these are not my friends and I'm just going to make new friends.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of time to do that, babes.
I know, because he's on the cross. Yeah.
Is it true that in the Bible, people like Jesus' disciples were there and saying that he had to die when he was hung up on the cross?
What do you mean?
There was this old Sam Kinison joke where he's talking about, it sucked being Jesus. And, he was tied up to the cross and people around him saying, he has to die, he has to die. He's like, but Jesus is like thinking to himself, well, maybe I wouldn't have to die if some of you would help me out.
Well, he does explain it to his disciples, but they didn't understand at the time.
Oh.
Because in, I believe it is, I think it was in John. He's telling him, I will go away, but where I go, you can't eat. I know I'm butchering it right now because I don't have it in front of me. It's like, I will go away, but where I will go, you cannot go with me. But you will, in other words, I'm going to go for a time, but I will come back. But I can't tell you right now where I'm going. So they didn't really understand what's going on. The only one that really understood was the Father.
Very good there, Jaylo.
So they would understand later on, after his death and burial and resurrection, but they didn't understand prior.
Very good, babes.
Okay.
Are there any questions you want to ask me about this movie?
Has this movie? I know this was kind of like poking fun of. In some ways, in some ways, it kind of poked fun at, people following whoever it is, right?
Yes.
And also in some ways, it kind of poked fun at Jesus and his ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was trying to be mean about it. Honestly, I don't.
No.
In some ways, it could be viewed as sacrilegious, but I think it really makes you think about. Did you think it made you think about spiritual things when you saw this?
No, it made me think more about the idea of groupthink, though.
Okay, that makes sense.
And contradictory. So I know I keep going back to it, but the scene at the beginning where they're listening to Jesus talk.
Yeah.
And yet they can't enjoy this because they're arguing amongst themselves.
Yeah.
That scene to me is funny, but it's also, it says something to me. It resonates with me.
It's yeah, because we are very we are fallible human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We are we are not going to do what is right all the time. We are not going to concentrate when we should be concentrating. I mean, like, for example, when I was in elementary school, right? And the teacher is trying to get the kids to listen. But the last thing I want to do is listen, because I'm already thinking about, well, what am I going to do after school? What am I going to do? Am I going to call my friends? Am I going to take a nap? I want to get out of the classroom because I don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. But the right thing to do is to be attentive to what the teacher is saying, because he or she may want to give us instructions before we go home. And as hard as it was, I had to do that. But we are like that. Our mind just wanders when it wants to wander, and we want to do what we think is right at the time. Yeah,
and I don't want to get into like a deeper thing. I might disagree with you a little bit about listening to your teacher is the right thing to do.
Because I mean, we are told that it is.
We are told, but that doesn't make it so.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying, though.
If it's something important, though. If it's something really important that you have to know because you have a test.
But who decides what's important? Is it just important to pass this test so you can make a better grade, or are you actually going to learn something from doing the work?
Well, it depends on the teacher, because you would agree that, and I don't want to really get into this too much.
Okay.
That education system is full of holes.
Yes.
Okay? You would agree with me on that.
Absolutely.
So it depends on the teacher, because if the teacher is really good, they're gonna make it so that the kids want to learn, or the college student would want to learn. But if the teacher isn't good, of course they're gonna zone out and not want to listen.
Very good there, Jaylo.
But yeah, I would agree with the groupthink.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you recommend this movie to any religious people that you know?
In some ways I would. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Let me rephrase the question. I'm a conservative Christian who knows my Jaylo.
Would you please stop it?
Sorry.
It's really annoying.
I didn't know. I think
I think it's kind of become a habit.
Okay. I'm a conservative Christian who knows Jaylo. I pick up the phone. I say, give me a movie recommendation. You think I might enjoy The Life of Brian. Give me the elevator pitch for the movie.
I would say that it's really funny. There are some things that might be a little bit, what's the word? Not so much disturbing, but a little bit, would you say risque, I guess?
Yes.
But it isn't, it's something that, you would have to decide on whether you want to watch or not watch. I would say watch it, but at your own discretion.
Okay.
Right. It's not like the worst movie. It's definitely not a bad movie, but there are some things that a Christian would be like, what? Why did they put that in there? You know.
I believe they actually got some pushback for making this movie.
Really?
Because a friend told me that he saw an interview from the late 70s when John Cleese and Eric Idle were promoting the film, and they were apparently debating a minister or priest or somebody like that.
Because of the sacrilegious tone in it?
Yes.
It is very sacrilegious, but I don't know that they were being malicious about it.
Oh.
If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Because if they were really being malicious about it, it would be completely, like, I thought that this was less sacrilegious than From Dusk Till Dawn.
Wow. Okay.
I would.
I still can't believe how much
I think they were hardcore sacrilegious in From Dusk Till Dawn.
To me, the movie, you can make an argument, is very pro-religion, From Dusk Till Dawn. But we don't have to go there again.
No, I think it's the opposite. Oh. I think it was the opposite, especially with was it Matthew McConaughey? No.
Matthew McConaughey?
No. Who was the guy? Oh,
You thinking about the older dude? Jacob?
No, not Jacob. Seth, yes. Who is that?
George Clooney.
Thank you. I mean, I thought George Clooney was very disrespectful.
Oh.
His character, anyway. Not saying that he is, but I'm talking about his character. I just thought it was very much making a mockery.
Yeah.
Of religion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but we don't have to go down that road again.
I don't think it's like, I think it is sacrilegious, but I don't know that it's making a mockery of it totally.
Oh. Well, good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about The Life of Brian? Oh, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give it?
At least a 7.5.
And probably an 8.
Yeah, but I think I would be at 7.5 just because there are some like sacrilegious and risque tones to it. Mm. So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I would watch that. I would say that anyone, whether you're Christian or not, I would watch it at your own discretion, but it's not the worst film in the world.
Okay. And is there anything else you want to say about it?
No.
All right. After we watched The Life of Brian, we watched Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, I think it's called, right? Yes. The Quest for the Holy Grail?
Quest for the Holy Grail. This is probably my 3rd time seeing the film. And it's not that I don't like it. It's just that I think it's a very mostly forgettable movie. In my opinion, it's not their best work, which goes against what everybody else in the world believes.
Let me just give, like, the basic premise of it. Basically, there's this king named King Arthur. It kind of pokes fun of the Knights of the Round Table with King Arthur and Sir Lancelot. King Arthur has had this vision from God, if I'm correct.
Yes. And
says that you must go on this quest for the Holy Grail. You must find it. And he goes on this journey to find it, but gets into a lot of things with the French and and this castle Anthrax with all these young women that want to be his sex slaves, which is kind of weird. Would you want to chime in?
And other stuff happens. The movie ends. No, like I know I just like wrapped it up very subtly. But I don't really remember this movie that much, even after watching it again last night. I think it was somebody else. It wasn't the king. It was one of his minions who got with the ladies, or was about to.
I forgot who that might have been Lancelot.
They go on these adventures, and at the end of the movie, it's like the modern day film company coming to take everybody away, and that's what it is.
Yeah. There were some funny things in it. I mean, there was one part where you had this the French were throwing animals at the Britons.
Mm-hmm. I did laugh during it.
But I mean, they threw this cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the ones with the ladies was kind of funny.
Yeah. As we know, babes, I generally don't like movies that break the fourth wall. Okay. And this movie does it a few times.
What do you mean by breaking the fourth wall?
Reminding you that you're watching a movie.
Okay.
By doing things like saying, well, they were getting chased by this cartoon creature, but our animator had a heart attack in the middle of making it.
Oh, okay.
Or at the end of the movie where it's either the film production company or the police come to arrest everybody.
Right.
I don't know, it takes me out of it.
Okay. Did you like the part in the beginning where it says this was made by the wrong company?
That actually made me laugh. It's not that you can't break the fourth wall, but you got to be very careful when you do it.
I remember that one part where, remember that they had this group of people that were singing like some kind of a chant. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of the chant, there were these people that were being flogged.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about that part?
That was all right.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I also heard you laughing a lot more during The Life of Brian than you did during this movie. I
did. I just thought it was funny. I mean, I kind of was thinking, okay, why am I laughing at this? It was just funny. It was a lot. It was definitely funnier.
What would you give this movie on a scale from 1 to 10?
I would say a weak 7.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know that you gave it a 6.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say a 6. I would say just a weak 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Is there anything you want to say about the characters in the movie?
Not really. I mean, they didn't have a lot of depth to me.
No, and it's hard to do character analysis with people like this.
Even King Arthur didn't have a lot of depth. He was just trying to search for the Holy Grail. Mm-hmm. And he was just, and even the French leader there wasn't a lot of depth to this guy. He just kept saying, oh, I would fart in your face and wave my private parts and and then and throw stuff at you just to get him away from the castle.
I think that was actually the guard to the French guard.
Oh, the French guard? Okay.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, all he wanted to do was get the king away from this castle.
Oh my goodness.
And do we ever see the Holy Grail, by the way?
We see an image of it near the beginning when God is talking. He's like, take a good look at this. And it's the Holy Grail.
Right. And then when he was at the castle Anthrax, which is kind of funny, mm-hmm. He said, I saw the Holy Grail in this castle. And the lady's like, oh, shame on me. There's a beacon here that's in the shape of the Grail.
Yes.
So... Yeah.
Would you recommend this movie to other people?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't. It's funny, but I don't know. I guess if you want to watch something that doesn't have that doesn't really go in depth with, it's not a deep movie, you can watch it, I guess.
Why do you think this movie is considered their masterpiece?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question I don't know if I can answer.
Because we've already established, I don't think it is. And I'm so shocked that most of society disagrees with me on this.
Or people that are really into Monty Python.
Yeah.
I don't know. maybe there's something we're missing or overlooking.
That's possible, I guess.
I would agree. I don't know why.
There is funny stuff, and I don't want to make it seem like
there.
it just drags on and on.
No, it's not boring. There is some funny things, but The Life of Brian had more funny things in it.
One thing I really liked about this movie is the king comes across this knight who's killing people and asks the knight if he wants to join him. The knight kind of ignores him and then won't let him pass by. So they get into this fight, and the king cuts off both of his arms and one of his legs, and then just like cuts him from the torso.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
That was funny.
I thought that was good. So it's not like,
wait a minute.
Yeah, it's not like there's nothing good in this movie, but there's just not enough there, I think.
And then at the end, they take him away. They arrest everybody.
Yes.
And I thought it was a weird ending.
Yes. Which I don't mind weird endings, but they kind of have to make sense.
Yes.
Right.
I don't understand why those people were in the middle chanting, though.
I don't get it, babes.
I mean, I'm like, okay. But, I mean, there were some funny things, but I just wish it was a little bit more understandable, I guess.
Yes. So to clarify.
Yeah.
You like this movie more than I did, but you would agree with me that The Life of Brian, well, maybe it's not their best movie because you haven't seen all their films yet.
Yeah.
It is better than The Holy Grail.
It's much funnier and the characters are understandable, yes.
Yes. Very good, you. Whoa.
I will say that the music in both these movies was really good.
Oh, yeah. Both of them had good
I like
music.
the score, yeah.
Babes.
Yes.
Tonight, what are we doing for dinner?
We are going to make a taco salad.
Without avocado.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
I had to bring that up.
Let's get it in here just so we can, discuss it.
Okay, so I feel a little bit better at discussing it because I really didn't want to talk about it yesterday.
Yes.
Because I know that a Rick here wanted to discuss it.
Okay. On Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, we are on the phone deciding what we want to have to eat this weekend.
No.
And taco salad comes up. We both say, oh, that's a great idea. We're going over ingredients and we say, okay, let's put avocados on the list. It's going to be awesome. And I ask you, babes, are you writing this down? And you're like, oh, don't worry, Baba. I got it in my head.
I did, and I usually take good mental notes.
And then Thursday, I get a phone call saying, Bobs, I forgot the avocado, but I got everything else.
I did. That was the one thing I forgot. And I'm like, why did I forget that? Well, I usually wouldn't forget avocado, but I was having some technical issues with the website, and that was part of it.
But you forgot the avocado.
I did forget the avocados. I was distracted by the whole website thing, but I did actually forget it, and I couldn't believe I forgot it.
I give you some friendly ribbing for literally like a minute.
And I thought that you were literally like rubbing it into my face, like, you forgot the avocados. I told you so.
No, but it's a minute, maybe two. It's not like it went on for 15 minutes.
I told you so. I told you so. That's what I was thinking. I told you so.
So after maybe 2 minutes of joking around with you about this, you're like, I've moved past it, Baba. I don't want to joke about it anymore. Let's just move past it. Then I'm like, okay, we can move past it. But then during our conversation, you kept taking it back to the avocados. Like you would have thought it would be me who would keep going back to it, but you kept going back to it.
Well, I did it. I did drop it totally. And
right, but you would think that I would be the one who had trouble dropping it. Why do you think that was? Now that you have some time to reflect.
I don't know. I was just irritated with the whole thing.
Oh.
I was irritated that I was mad at myself because I forgot it. The one thing I forgot.
Right.
And then I was mad at you because you were supposedly giving me a friendly ribbing or whatever.
Yes.
And I thought you were trying to rub it into my face, and I was even more irritated.
Point of context too, avocados is maybe my favorite food.
Really? Above all else?
I said maybe, so it's probably top 5.
And
favorite things to eat.
Yeah, and I said that I have had taco salads without avocado. So yes. I was making a point that we don't have to have it with avocado all the time.
Right, and we don't, but it definitely adds a flavor profile.
It definitely does, and thinking about it now, I'm like, well, we could have gotten guacamole, but I didn't even think about that. And, you know, and you know, it happens. You know, stuff like this happens. It's,
yes.
you know, I'm okay with it now.
Oh. Are you going to start writing down recipes, babes?
Or at least recording it, yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I will.
Oh, good.
Or I'll just have you text it like you did before.
Oh.
The texting thing works.
What happens if I die then? How are you going to get ingredients for food?
I'll just look it up, Bob.
Yes. People used to tell me that all the time as a kid.
Oh, that is so irresponsible. I'm sorry, but that really is irresponsible.
My mom used to say what happens if I die like every single day, but there would be other people in my life saying, I need your help with this. And they'd be like, well, what happens if I'm not here next time?
I don't like that. It's like, it's very, I mean, I can understand if you say it once in a while, like to make a person think, but every single day, it's just very irresponsible.
That's what I felt like as a kid. It's like, okay.
I'm going into surgery. I may be gone by the time you come back from school or whatever. It's like, why would you say that to your child?
My mom would say that, but she'd also be like, okay, I have to run some errands. I don't know. Maybe I'll die in a car crash today. This might be the last time we see each other.
Is this a blister here?
I don't know what that is. I've had that for a while. Alana's feeling one of my fingers.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know if it's like a pimple or a blister or something.
It's probably like lung cancer or something.
No, Bob, that's to be in your lungs.
Oh, but it's manifest.
Is it red?
Now skin cancer, but it started off in the lungs.
Is it red?
It is. It's hard to tell. It's like a brownish color.
It might be okay.
It's probably fine.
Okay.
But what happens if it's not fine and I end up dying?
Oh my goodness. No. Jeez. That's just something you should never, ingrain in your child's head, because that would scare
oh my God.
Child.
I remember, babes, we would go out to restaurants sometimes.
Yes.
I'm sure I've told you this, but I can't recall if I said it here or not.
Okay.
And when we're at the dinner table, my mom would be like, I can't wait until I die.
No,
that's
you never.
Gonna be really fun.
No, you never told me that.
I was about 9 or 10 when she started doing that.
That must have freaked you out.
No, because I didn't have the context. But I mean, looking back at it now, I probably wouldn't have done that with my kids.
You probably would not have done it with your kids. Yeah, that's just, yeah. Wow. You just don't, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well,
I don't want to go too far into it, but do you think that because she talked about that so much, do you think that's why you don't want to talk about health issues?
Moving on, Jaylo. No. I will say that I don't
want to go too far into it.
What I will say is it's definitely skewed my opinion on doctors and whatnot.
Right.
And after the pandemic, I do need to get a full physical and all that stuff. Uh-huh. And it doesn't mean that I like the reality of it, but it doesn't change the fact that I do have to start doing more of that stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And with that, we'll drop it.
With that, we'll drop it.
Yeah.
But yes, that definitely contributes to that.
Okay.
There was a joke Louis C.K. did in his last... No, he's released some specials independently, but this was like the last special where people could say that they liked him without being considered like weird.
Yeah.
And I still like Louis C.K.
Okay.
If you have a problem with that, deal with that on your own.
Yeah.
And he said, people always have an excuse to get out of something. Like once you realize you can just commit suicide and kill yourself, you can schedule anything. He's like, I've scheduled the weirdest stuff. People say to me, I haven't seen in 15 years. You want to get together on Wednesday? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I might kill myself on Tuesday just to get out of it. He obviously did it better than I just did, but I thought it was pretty funny.
That's makes you think, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, I could say, I've got some family coming out of town, I can't make it,
Yeah.
I just conveniently have to get out of your dentist appointment. I just conveniently have a family emergency.
Well, no, it's more like I can agree to get together with somebody I don't like or go to do something I know I'm not going to enjoy.
Yeah.
Because the out in my head is, I could always kill myself before.
And then I don't have to do it.
Right. I thought that was really
That's kind of funny. No, it's true though, right? I mean, if you really think about it, it could possibly happen.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'll make an appointment with this person, but then I'll be dead and they'll figure it out.
Yes. The other thing he said in that special that was funny is...
Not that I advocate for suicide, folks, okay?
No.
The
other thing in that special that made me laugh, he's like, I was listening to NPR that one day, and I've said that just so I seem smart in front of you people. But then he said, I was in the car with my daughter listening to NPR, and they were talking about 9/11 deniers. And he said his daughter thought it was like 9 people who denied the number 11.
That's really funny.
That made me laugh.
9 people that denied number 11.
So it's like they think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12.
Judging by that, his daughter was probably very young.
I'm assuming so.
That's really funny.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Well, the one joke that you said about, can you imagine if you named your kid Ladies and Gentlemen? Ladies and gentlemen, please.
That's a great bit. If you go on YouTube, type in Louis C.K. Y. It's about a 10-minute bit near the end of one of his comedy specials. I forgot which one. But it's one that came out in maybe the mid-2000s.
Oh, wow.
Like 2007 or 8. It's really, really funny.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, baby boys.
Okay.
Okay. Like, why you Did you have any dreams last night?
I did not.
I did.
Oh, really?
And it involved you.
Uh-oh. Okay, I want to hear this because you didn't tell me this at all.
No.
Okay.
Before Alana got this apartment, she was renting a room from some very conservative Christians. This plays into my dream.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
In my dream, I go over to that place, which I'd never been in the inside before because they're super conservative.
He saw the outside of it.
Yes, and barely.
Barely.
Got to do that.
Yeah.
In the dream, I go in, and you're going to be moving the next day, so I'm hanging out with you. And you tell me, we have to keep the door open. We can't fool around because they're going to think something's up and kick me out of here. And I tell you, well, you're leaving tomorrow anyways. Who cares? But you leave the door open and the woman comes in and starts saying, hey, is it right for the two of you to be in here together? Maybe you should come and hang out in the living room. Mm-hmm. And then I woke up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never met her, so this is like my image of what she was like.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that dream?
Well, so I already knew their rules coming into their house. So that sounds like something that would happen, and I personally would not have done that because I knew what would have happened, mm-hmm. And it probably would have happened that way. But they normally wouldn't go into my room unless they had my permission. But even so, because I was living in their house, I would not have disrespected their rules.
Yeah, but you were paying rent. It's not like you just...
I was paying... Yes, I was...
There.
No, I was paying rent. I was paying rent. And yeah. But here's something interesting, though.
Go
because
ahead.
I observed something.
Tell me.
Now, there was a girl whose boyfriend came to visit a lot. And she was living with us for, I don't know, maybe close to a year, I think. Or I could be completely wrong about that because they would know. Nice girl. I've never met, I don't believe I've met the guy. I'm sure he's seen me before. But it was implied that he stayed over more than once. Mm. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I think it might have been. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute. Why is this happening? Why are they not cracking down on her? And I think they were significantly younger than I was. Maybe 20s, maybe 30s. I don't know. Whatever it was. They were young. I think they might have been younger than I was. But I was thinking to myself, why is this okay? Why are they not cracking down on them? Or maybe they're doing that while they're not home. I don't know. But I would say I wouldn't be able to get away with it because I already knew what the rules were.
See, to me, I look at it completely different. Like, at the time you were living with them, you were an adult, almost 40. And why... I don't know. I just find it weird that an adult who's almost 40 has to have strange rules like that.
Well, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me because I knew what the stipulations were before I moved in.
Oh.
You know, they were looking for a Christian woman, and that I was going to be. So I wasn't going to lie and say that I wasn't, just to have a place to stay.
Yeah, but some Christians like to have fun.
Yeah, but I would actually question their faith, Bubs.
Oh, what ifs. So would I, babes.
Just because they're doing all these weird things, I mean, I would highly question if they were really Christians.
I don't think that I could live in a Christian household and pay rent there. That just seems a little bit too great for me.
Well, good for you, Bubby.
Yes, babes. And plus, according to what you told my sister, you're buying all their food. Okay. Stop. Okay.
Really? Are you going to bring that up again?
No, babes, I'm not. Give me a kiss.
It's water under the bridge.
I'll tell you what, it's water under the bridge.
It's water under the bridge. I thought we were past it.
We are past it, so give me a kiss.
No.
Here's why you said give me a kiss, so I don't go into it anymore. So come on, give me a kiss.
You say sorry.
Sorry, babes. Give me a kiss. I love you, babes. Now give me a kiss.
And by the way, she probably forgot all that.
I hope so. Babes. No, babes, no fart noises. Babes. No, give me a real kiss. Come on. Why are you showing a fart?
I'm just kidding, Bubs.
No, you're definitely way more.
No, I'm not.
All right, give me a kiss.
No, I'm not, Bubs.
Okay, give me a kiss.
It's a bodily function.
Okay. What? Jaylo, I love you.
You say sorry.
Sorry.
Water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge there, Jaylo. We had talked yesterday about you maybe wanting to watch either an episode of the original series or TNG and some Ken Burns.
Yeah. I think it would be kind of fun.
Sounds good. Do you want to do original series or TNG?
I kind of want to see that one episode with the Fizbin game.
Okay, that's from the original series.
Okay. That's a piece of the action, right?
Yeah, and it's a lighter episode.
Okay.
Do you mind watching a lighter episode?
I don't mind. I mean, we don't have to watch all the heavier ones.
Okay, good.
But we also have another podcast episode coming.
That's right. It's weird. I don't like lighter episodes of DS9, but some of my favorite episodes from the original series are lighter episodes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we go and read the good book?
Oh my goodness.
What?
Do you want a snack first, or do you want...
I think we should have a snack.
All right.
Yes.
And then I'll have, and then give me a minute.
Yes.
To get everything ready.
Have 1 minute.
Yes. And then we can start it.
Wisely.
Oh my goodness.
All right, now give me a kiss.
I just did.
Well, give me another one.
You say sorry first.
For what? What did I do?
Oh, I'm just kidding. You didn't say sorry before what you said before.
What did I say before?
About water under the bridge.
Did I say water under the bridge?
No, about what you mentioned that I thought we were past. Did you say sorry?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll wait. Oh my goodness.
All right, babes, unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, all I have to say is, I hope you have a wonderful Saturday morning as we are recording this.
Yes.
We will be back in just a minute.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Well, yeah.
We'll
be back, but,
We'll be back, but I don't know.
You'll hear it.
You'll hear it
whenever you hear it.
When you hear it.
Just be thankful you're getting more. And if you hate this, then be glad you have something to hate. Your life's good enough to where you can just hate on two people doing a podcast.
Oh, goodness.
And with that said,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.